It's not bad, man. Doing well. How are you?
I'm really, really well. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us today.
Hello, man. Thank you for requesting an interview. It's nice to be wanted on some level.
Well, mate, I've got to say, I've taken a listen to this brand new album, and congratulations, it is an absolutely fantastic album.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I definitely worked my arse off on it, so I'm glad that you enjoy it, because you never know. You know, there's always going to be some point in your career where it's like, I don't know, the star kind of wanes a little bit and the light fades. But I don't know. I feel good, man. I feel like I worked hard on this one, and I feel like it's the strongest thing we've done. So hopefully that translates, and we can, once the world gets back to normal, we can get out there and tour this damn thing.
Definitely. How do you feel when an album is about to come out? Because you've been in this industry now for so long. Do you still get nervous when you've got an album coming out, or do you get excited?
It's a mixture of both. I'm terrified. Because you never know what the response is going to be. I know, for example, I love the songs. I love the single. I love the music. I love the artwork. I think I did a really good job, and I pat myself on the back all day. But ultimately, the real test of how well you did is the fan response, and did you manage to win new fans over with yourself? So I'm excited always, obviously, but there's first the fear, and then once the album, once you start getting close to release date, and once you start seeing the response to the single, for example. It's already doing really well. I think we're almost in the top 10 after 3 weeks in the United States, which is crazy. I think it might be the fastest single we've ever had get that high, that quickly. So the response has been great. That kind of then helps it sort of subside, help the fear subside a bit, and then the excitement can take over. Because I think we're about 7 or 8 weeks away from album release now. Not even. I think it's probably less than that, and it's now coming down to the line. So for me, I can't wait to see what people's response is, and just to see, if people like it or not.
Definitely. You mentioned that you think this is the strongest album that you guys have put out, but I also feel that it's the most heartfelt as well. It feels like a lot of these lyrics came direct from your heart. Tell us a little bit about your songwriting for this album.
Yeah, you're right. I'm glad people are picking up on that, because I changed my approach to lyrics for the most part. Well, lyrics I completely overhauled how I do them. Music, I did what I always do, is I start, and I just start on a daily basis coming up into my studio, and I just start writing riffs, and then I start trying to build songs, and I just keep going until I've amassed enough volume to look at it and say, okay, cool, I've got enough now that I can figure out if there's anything good in here, and can I pare that down to 15 or 20 tracks from the 45 or 50 that have been written, and then really look at those songs and make those as good as I can. But lyrically, I really threw everything that I used to do out the window. Because I feel embarrassing, but I talk about it quite a bunch. But I never really paid as much attention to the lyrics as I did to the music ever. It was always kind of a throw and go situation where I would have demo lyrics, which are usually just mumblings with some words that I like the sound of, and it was really just to establish the cadence and the melody. And then I would come to the studio, and I would be entirely unprepared lyrically. I would have I'd know the music, and the band would know the music, and then when it came down to lyrics, it was up to me, and I would realize 5, 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes before I go into the vocal booth, I don't have these lyrics yet, and everyone's waiting on me. So, and working with producers, for them, time is money, so they don't like that kind of thing. So I had to sort of figure that out, and because I was so fond of the music, and I was really, really proud of the music, I really wanted to take my time with the lyrics. And so I spent the better part of, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks, possibly a month or so, and I really looked at the lyrics, and I wrote down what I was feeling, and what ended up happening was it sort of became quite, I don't know, it sort of reminded me of lyrics that I'd written in the past, but it was sort of, I wasn't really, even though I was trying to pay attention, it didn't feel like I was. So I scrapped a lot of the stuff that I started with, and then I really started writing and analyzing and crossing things out and going back and leaving a song for a day, coming back and checking the lyrics again and seeing if I liked them. So for me, it was a fun process because I got to really figure out how much I can play with words and how direct I want to be in certain spots and how much I want to give away about certain feelings and certain sort of situations, I guess. So it was an interesting experiment, and I think I won't be able to go back to the old way because having lyrics that you are confident with and you know very well when you go into the vocal booth, I think in the past my mind, the way I thought about it, my mindset was, okay, if I don't know the lyrics very well, and if I've just written them, then I'm basically learning how they fit into the song as I'm singing them, which creates sort of a vulnerability because you aren't really comfortable with it. And what really ended up happening was I would have to do, instead of doing 3 or 4 takes, I'd have to do 8, 9, or 10 takes until I could deliver the lines with confidence. So having had that step removed already by the time I got to the vocals, it actually went very quickly because I was very comfortable with them and I felt very confident singing them and it felt good getting them out. So that was the biggest change. Music is always just me tooling around, figuring out what I want to hear, what I think sounds great, and how I want to present the band's next chapter, so to speak. But lyrically, I definitely took my time and wanted to make sure that I really dug deep on this one. So I love that translation. Certainly you've mentioned it, and a couple of other people have mentioned it. So that's good. I'm glad to see that there's at least that I've created the appearance that the lyrics have had a little bit more thought for these.
Yeah. What kind of things were on your mind when you actually wrote these lyrics? Because to me, this album almost feels like a soundtrack for 2020. For a lot of people, this has been the most difficult year of their lives, and it felt like a soundtrack to match that. So what was actually on your mind when you sat down to write these lyrics?
Yeah, it turned out it was quite foreboding at the time. I didn't realize that 2020 was going to look like this, but I think a lot of the subject matter dealt with, well, my personal experiences and my personal feelings, obviously. But I've looked further beyond my own personal space to get inspiration to learn, and I've actually found that I'm more inspired. I've looked at the teenage angst thing. I've done that, and it was at the time it was genuine. And there's still a lot of things that make me angry from the past, or sad from the past. But it feels like if I draw from something that's more recent, it's more visceral, and it certainly feels like it's more powerful. So I wrote a bunch of stuff about what's happened in the past few years with me, and how I was very self-destructive up until a couple of years ago, and I've turned a real corner in my life on that. And the biggest thing for me is I'm quite reclusive, and I don't really like to venture out of my house much. And I've always been that way. I've never really needed to be, the loud guy at the bar. I'm not that guy. I'm always the guy that sits in the corner in the dark spot. And the more I've lived that way now for well over a year and a half now, I've actually quite enjoyed that. I don't miss hanging out in bars after shows and all that. No good comes of that. And really, it's that fear of missing out thing that I thought I had. And now that I've realized I'm not missing out on very much, I'm good to stay at home. So
Yep.
I sit and I look at the world from my little hovel, my little cave, and I see, and I do it for the main reason being, am I actually doing the right things? Am I missing out on great experiences? Because I'm often told that, I should get out of the house more. And that's cool, I understand. Other people, my wife is very sociable, she likes to get out a lot. My kid loves other people, so she likes to get out a lot. I don't, so we're polar opposites on that. And I do make the effort, and I go out, and we'll go to gatherings, or we'll go to the dog park, or we'll go to the petting zoo, or whatever we do. And in those instances, more often than not, I'm quite happy to realize that people are quite good to each other. And even though I have tattoos and long hair, and I'm kind of a scary-looking guy, I guess, in certain conservative areas, or in certain neighborhoods or suburbs, or even certain big box stores, they follow me around like I don't know they're there. But those away from society. But then you'll have other experiences where you go to the local grocery store and the sweet old lady behind the counter, you end up knowing what her blood type is and how she donated it, and that she had a stroke 20 years ago. And you sort of build up this rapport with the real local people around you. So I do miss that, and it does give me hope that society is great. But for the most part, I look from the outside in, and I don't like what I see. Because a lot of my research online, I don't really tend to rely on the main sources of information to tell me what to think or what to believe or how things are. I try to sort of find more fringe and hopefully less biased sources to get my information from. And it's difficult because if you turn on the TV, 24 hours a day, you're being told how it's Armageddon, and that can be quite soul destroying. But I did a lot of that last year, and that's kind of when I wrote the lyrics, was towards the end of the year. It was around about December I was writing lyrics, even into January. So it was fairly close to the like, let's say, the pandemic situation, but society as a whole was already showing the tumultuous nature of where we were headed. And I think that was going to really sort of get to me. And so had I written those lyrics and this album, and nothing had really changed this year, but the societal crumble that I see around us had continued, it would have validated the lyrics. But now you add on top of that natural disasters, murder hornets, and fires, all of these, and then of course the pandemic, and then restrictions on your travel and all this kind of thing. And then on top of that, you take away my complete livelihood because I can't tour. That sort of just really drove this thing home for me. And I think that's why everything sort of feels a little bit more personal lyrically, because it was only about a society that was kind of unhappy with itself and with each other. And then it morphed into, well, now it's a society that's on lockdown and losing its mind, and the tensions are boiling over, as you can see all around the world. And I think again, the dam's about to break, and I don't know, I'm quite, I don't know, I'm hesitant to think that we're going to end up in a positive place, but, I'm trying to stay hopeful. But, yeah, the societal thing, I've sort of, I don't know, maybe it telegraphed itself, but it felt to me like we were building more and more steam as 2019 went on, and then 2020 just opened up a door, or a bunch of doors that said, hey man, go for it. So I think that just makes it seem like I wrote these lyrics yesterday, but I think it's only because it's amplified by everything that's now involved in the world.
Definitely. And I know it's going to be an album that a lot of people are going to be able to personally relate to this year. Shaun, I know we are running out of time and you've got other interviews to get to, but I'd love to finish by asking, is there anything you would like to say to your fans out there before they take a listen to the album? And is there any chance that we might see you guys in Australia once everything has gone out of shutdown?
I'll answer that. We'll definitely come back to Australia as soon as we're allowed to get back on planes and feel like we aren't, in some sort of prison craft. We'll definitely be out there. We love Australia. Is one of my favorite places to play, and the whole band loves it. So we're really looking forward to that. And as far as fans go, here's what I would say. I know it's a tough time, and I know it's a pretty terrifying time that we live in. But I would urge a couple of things. One is, I know mental health is a big thing, and I've always advocated for it. But in this particular time now, kids, teenagers not being able to go to school, people out of work, I think to get through something like that, you need to find something that inspires you and distracts you from the current situation. But that's a positive, not a negative or physically destructive pastime. And I hope that in this kind of time we can be some sort of beacon of light, and that we can, I think an important part about putting an album out, because we did consider not doing it. And there was much talk about delaying it even further and maybe even going into 2021 because, well, that's what you do. You have to tour an album. But I felt like it was a good time because I have listened to a lot of music, and I've tried to find new music from people, and I always fall back on the bands that give me the most comfort. And when bands that are currently still active and they put out something new, most recent for me is again, I'll Bring Me the Horizon. It was such a great surprise, and it was like this ray of sun coming through the clouds, because it sort of gives you that sense of normalcy, and it gives you that feeling of, okay, the whole planet hasn't stopped spinning. It's not about to be smashed into the sun and we're all going to die. There is still a sense of normalcy. And I guess I would urge fans to just remember that this too will end at some point, and we are grateful that there's still interest in our band. I'm very grateful that we are having such an amazing response to the new song. And I think the album, if you need something, like I needed the album, I needed the lyrics, I needed the therapeutic aspect of it, so that I could really get some shit off my chest, basically. And I hope that, like you've even commented, and a couple of people have commented in other interviews as well, I hope that when fans get this one, they go, oh man, this is something different. This is something that's more carefully put together, with more sense of purpose and sense of creativity and sense of, just real emotion. And, that's all I can say. And I think that when the album does come out and you have it in its entirety, and I think, not everyone's, obviously, when it comes out with the fans, I think that it'll be, for me, I think this is what the band is supposed to release now, because it's sort of a return to some of the heavier stuff of our past, but there's some really interesting new stuff on it, and again, the lyrics, there was a lot of time put into it, and that's, we've kind of always been more a lyric band than a riff band, you know what I mean? No one's buying my signature guitar at the store, because I'm not known as a guitarist. I'm a singer, basically, that bangs around on a guitar. So I think that for anybody who's having a rough time right now, it's only going to be a few more weeks. If you're a theater fan, we love you, and I really think that this album is the most important thing we've done to date, and I think it's going to be. I think this may be. Maybe this will help the clouds part, and you can see a brighter future ahead of you. But I'm excited for people to hear it, and I think like I said, I'm really proud of this one. I don't think I would change a thing about it. And I think it's strong. I think it's honest, and I think I really laid myself out there this time. And I think for people that really maybe want to get a better insight into what goes on in my head, this would be the best example of it. And that's really all I can say about it.
Definitely. Well, mate, stay safe, and hopefully we do get to see you in Australia soon. And again, congratulations on such a fantastic album.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You stay safe too, and we will see you soon.
Okay, mate. All right.
We'll charge out of these gates.
Definitely. You have a great day.
You too, man.
Thanks.
You very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.